Welcome everybody to our NCBB Game of the Week. This time we're bringing you the John Molson School of Bruising, coached by Uber, and the Gallaudet Deaf Bulls, coached by Serge Tacos. It's one hell of a battle, hopefully, between some Nurgle and some Chaos Dwarves. With me in the booth, we've got Apajar. So, how are you this evening, sir?
Good evening to you. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good and I'm ready. Not only do we have this game going on, but we just had another important game between Ottawa and Stephen F. Austin start up, and I think Brohio's playing too, or maybe they're playing at the next hour. So it's action-packed night.
For the fans, we will be monitoring the Stephen F. Austin Ottawa game. We will bring you updates as they come. We can tell you about that Ottawa is kicking to Stephen F., who is Kemry, in the rain. So it should be an interesting first half in that game.
Always an interesting one when there's rain, because you play Kemry, or against Kemry, and you're like, I want to use this to my advantage, and then you kick and they start fumbling the ball. But then there's also the flip side where you go try to get it from them, and then you can't pick up the ball because it's wet, so it's always that conundrum.
It's going to be an interesting game on that side before we get to our game of the week here with Gallaudet just starting to set up. Stephen F. has managed to trifecta the first four teams he's played. It's just, and there's our first casualty of the match already on the third block of the game.
Nice.
Ottawa managed a coffin corner kick. It is in the absolute dead corner of the end zone, and he's already got a casualty on a zombie on the front line. It's going to be interesting.
That's what they're there for, right? They're just shambling zombies ready to get in the way. Alright, so in front of us we've got Gallaudet and John Molson. Molson, I believe this is their first season in the BCS, correct?
That is correct. This is a second season Nurgle squad for those just joining us for the first time.
Okay, Gallaudet, not a second-year team. They're a fourth-year team. They were in the playoffs last year as the number 2 seed. Couldn't quite get the job done in the semis against Duke, but, I mean, it's Duke. A lot of people have trouble with them, so big expectations for the Deaf Bulls. Do you have some numbers for potential rankings in the AP poll for these two teams? Apajar?
Well, after coming out of conference play, we have Gallaudet is our number 1 squad at this point. John Molson, being a second-year squad, has a big rivalry win already. There is already advanced up as high as number 6. Okay. So this is a top 10 matchup that we're experiencing here.
I like it. Of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that Gallaudet had a big win earlier this season against Ottawa, where it was the Joey Mendez versus Julian Starr Battle of the Century, which we did commentary for, and that was one hell of a contest. Marking the Beast of Nurgle. Interesting.
The path for these guys coming in has been up and down. Gallaudet, as you mentioned, their first big win. That's a rivalry win against Ottawa this year. Shut them out. Then played an up-and-coming Indiana squad who has just reeled off 2 wins in a row and tied a top 15 Miami of Ohio squad. So they're coming in 2-0-1, whereas you have John Molson coming in out of conference at 3-0, including a big rivalry win over UC San Diego.
Yeah, that's a big win. Not easy to beat JR's High Elves. He's been very good with them so far. But I'm glad you mentioned Indiana. That's a 2-game win streak for, is it Ganthony?
Gianthony, yeah.
Gianthony, yeah. Correct. That's not something he's done too often here, so I'm proud of him.
And here we are with Joey Mendez picking up the ball. A couple of keys to the game if you want to hear some.
Go ahead.
So with Gallaudet, we know what the Bulls are capable of, but for those of you following Gallaudet for the first time, they have a pair of Bulls. They have Everett Polson. He's a 78-point senior. Block tackle, break tackle, plus strength, plus movement. And his partner in crime, Joey Mendez, he's going to be potentially at the end of this game the all-time NCBB leader in star player points. He's at 197. He is a senior. Block, dodge, movement, 2 bonus agilities, and sure hands as his last skill. Coach Serge Taco is getting really frustrated in one of the late games last season where Joey Mendez was stripped 3 times on the same drive with a strip ball elf, and using his last skill on Joey Mendez to give him sure hands.
He said, never again.
So we want to also mention for Gallaudet, Jack Gray. He's a senior Chaos Dwarf blocker at 48 points with Claw, Mighty Blow, and Frenzy. Pros for Gallaudet is that they really have a tremendous advantage in ball movement, ball handling, and movement over the slower moving Nurgle. And you wouldn't normally think that about Chaos Dwarf, but you can see with the amount of movement that the Bulls have, it makes it very difficult for anybody to deal with them, let alone Nurgle. But the cons for Gallaudet right now, they have good support. They don't have great support. They only have 2 guards, and they're a little thin on the front line of Hobgoblins. So their support's good, but it's not great.
Yep, looks like 2 rookie blockers and another 2 with a single skill, one being guard, one being claw. So they've cycled through quite a few blockers over the last couple seasons. It's good and bad. Obviously, short term, it hurts your chances to go all the way this season and get the job done while you still have your Bulls. But long term, you don't have to lose all your blockers at once in the dreaded first graduating class. So you'll still have a foundation for the next couple seasons.
Going into a little bit of John Molson here. This is, like we said, they're already number 6 or a second-year squad. Reggie Blight for them is going to have to play big. That's their Rot Spawn / Beast of Nurgle. He's one of their 2 guard pieces. He's going to have to play big here and be a large role because he's going to have his hands full with trying to contain some of the Chaos Dwarf blockers. He's got to play big. So really the keys to the game, number 1, is whose support is going to play bigger. Is it going to be the 2 guards for Gallaudet that allow the Bulls to be able to run around and do whatever it is that they're going to do? Or are the bloaters for John Molson going to be able to tie up the Chaos Dwarf blockers and keep Gallaudet having to move around and not be able to secure a spot for him? Second thing for you, second key to the game is going to be the ball handling going forward for John Molson. They do not have a sure hands player. Are they going to have to use early rerolls on just for ball handling for John Molson? And the last thing, the wild card of everything that I would say would be Ron Mattingly for Gallaudet. He is their dirty player Hobgoblin. If he can land a couple of extra boots, maybe get a rotter or 2 off of the pitch, that's going to make their job a lot easier.
This is true. Speaking of rerolls, John Molson using one early to try to take down a blocker, and they do with the reroll, so they've got 2 stuns this turn, which isn't too bad. Couldn't get a solid hit on Mr. Polzin, so he's able to break tackle next turn, you'd think. And while they don't have a sure hands Pestigore, they do have an up-and-coming guy, Pavel Burry, Strength 4, Blodge, 46 SPPs. I imagine he's not thrilled about that double skull by his teammate, but he looks like a solid ball carrier, albeit not one that's super agile, but one that's tough to take down nonetheless.
If you notice, the player that he's really concerned about, and John Molson that is concerned about in sheltering, is going to be Bloody Divock, the block tackle Pestigore. He has to have him mobile and free to have any chance at getting that ball out of Joey Mendez' hand.
Yep. Good thing about horns is even though Joey Mendez is a freak of nature, you can still get a really solid shot on the ball on a 1-die with tackle, and hope for the best. Looks like we're going to be changing direction on offense. Joey heading south.
This is a very safe play for him because he's moving himself as far away from the overcommitted tackle on the upper side as he can.
Got some good blocks too, so his blockers should mostly be standing at the end of his opponent's next turn.
Quick news break-in. We have a casualty both ways on the Ottawa Stephen F game. We've just had a a Mighty Blow guard tackle white, kill a skeleton on Stephen F with no regeneration. So it's 1 casualty apiece.
The horror. Yeah, Ottawa's known for a lot of things, but definitely having a bashy mentality is one of them. Most people who follow the league know about the demise of Julian Starr. It all started in a game earlier this season against Gallaudet, where Joey Mendez literally took his man card from him, and he was never the same player. And that's when he met Natal Adams of Miami, now known as Star Killer. Speaking of the SPP record, how many does he need to pass Mr. Star? Is it just 2?
Honestly, I think it's just 3.
Oh. So Star ended up at 199? That's ridiculous for an NCBB player in 4 seasons. Not even 4 seasons. 3 in a couple games.
So we'll see now with Reggie Blight moving into play on 3 Chaos Dwarf blockers, if that's going to give Gallaudet any reason to score early. That's going to tie up a lot of the support there, as we were talking about. We're going to see if we can free anything up to cause some panic for the Chaos Dwarfs.
Hasn't used his blitz yet, so you've got a good block at the bottom with Dale, and then you can come in and knock down another blocker, maybe even push somebody somewhere. You don't want to follow this one. Okay. Unless you have a plan to come through the back and hit somebody, but you got to get your tackle player to the middle of your logo as kind of a safety and kind of force Surge to do something with the ball.
He's got no reason right now to worry about tagging that Chaos Dwarf blocker up on the north side there that he's currently moving from. It is a call player, but he'll get up and move 1 space. You're not worried about marking him this turn.
No. That's the thing about blockers and bobs and big guys to some extent. Once you knock them down, you can do your best to leave them. Like mummies, for example, they don't have any movement
what he
at
can
all.
do here is potentially push blitz Kobe Schrader, the rookie Chaos Dwarf blocker that's on Reggie Blight, chain push him and manage to tie up 4 Chaos Dwarf blockers this turn, forcing him to kind of deal with that.
You're thinking blitz from the top left and push your beast down? Yeah, you can push him down right. Looks like he's trying to think of some grand plan here. We'll see what he does with Mr. Burry. Okay. Gets the POW, pushes the blocker that way, so now he's got 3 tied up still. Alright.
Now he's got to put one of those rotters down there in front of the beast. Otherwise he's going to be giving up right now a total 1-die block on the beast with a claw frenzy player. You don't really want to give that to the beast, especially you need him so bad. That'll work too. At least it keeps the extra assist off. You'd have to move to assist him.
Yeah, I mean, if you choose to try to go through the beast here, or the Rotspawn as he's called now, you'd have to commit a ton of resources, and that's probably not a great play. If anybody watched my game last night against Fayetteville, I had the hardest time dealing with his tree man. I was just constantly stuck on him with 2 to 3 Sorai or a Croxagore, and anytime I tried to, knock him down to get my players off, he just refused. He said, "No, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to tie up half your team for the entire drive." It was not exactly ideal.
Surgeon's a tough spot here. He's got to think about moving backwards here. He doesn't have the support moving forward.
It's true. As fast as Mendez and Polson are. Mendes is not able to score this turn even from this distance. So how is he gonna...
Yeah, I don't like this. No, I don't.
I think he's
This is rough.
too far out. If you get the knockdown
can...
here with Polson, you could have swung these hobs around and stopped at like column 7 or so. But he's so far out there, you've got to find a way to tag the Bloody Divac, or you could be in trouble.
If he was going to do that, I would have thought at least he would have moved Mike Everett Polson down to offer some kind of screen here. Instead, he elects to block.
Yeah, he could have easily break tackled and, you know, just stood above him, made a blitz much more difficult, but sometimes you get the block blinders on. I think we've all done that a couple times in our career. Okay, so he tags Bury. But you gotta get to Divac. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can't quite get
Yeah,
there.
he's not, and he's not going to. The worst he's going to... Worst is he'll get a 1-die block on him, if not 2.
That is something, you know, a lot of coaches who are trying out different teams might struggle with. Like Chaos Dwarves are similar to Undead or Khemri or Orcs, to where you have a specific guy who's going to carry the ball, and sometimes he's just faster than the support. And so in a situation like this where you think the breakaway might work, but then you quickly realize having your best guy out there by himself can lead you to get in trouble. So it's something you have to balance between going for a breakaway touchdown and slowly moving up the field with some support. You know, the old orc thrower, and there's a nice injury.
Oh, then that's on a 2-die down block.
Yeah, that's
He tried it against the Beast and wound up with a frenzy skull block and push.
Yeah.
And threw a 2-die uphill block on that Rotter and got it. That hurts.
If I was the coach who got 2-died, or, you know, negative 2-died, and had a player get injured, there'd be some words I'd be saying that I'm not allowed to say on camera. Like, people
We're
who
broadcasters, and we'd like to say that right now.
It's true. I am very much against coaches who throw 1-die and negative 2-die blocks liberally. It's just not something I think is ideal. But this is a regular 2-die block, and it is a nice, very nice one by Mr. Bloody Divac. Takes down and stuns Mendes. Ball scatters right to Killam Winslow. That's a very nice sequence for Uber and John Molson. Very few things more frustrating in Blood Bowl than watching your opponent just block your guys on not great dice.
Uber knew to move the tackler up where he was, just so that Polson would have a really hard time making it through there to try to throw a 2D on a break tackle to throw a blitz.
Yeah, I mean, Polson is so mobile, it's ridiculous. Can go anywhere on a 2 with break tackle. Can get into cages and screens relatively reliably. Fast, technically 10 movement thanks to sprint and sure feet. That's a very good injury for Dale. That's a blocker out, albeit not a great one, but every blocker out means a Hobgoblin has to take the field, and last time I checked, Apajar Hobgoblins are not quite as good as Chaos Dwarf blockers.
Well, it's just another tackler off the field that would slow up Pavel Bury.
True. I'm interested to see what he does with this Rotter. Ideally, you want to get him out in front and finish the screen for the ball, but I'm not sure he's really got the movement to do so. He could have taken the both down there, correct?
He could have, and I think he realizes that.
Unless he wanted to push him in position to where he wouldn't be like a threat to somehow sneak through.
So there, he did get the rotter.
Oh, and then here...
tag the claw. And this is a bad block. I wouldn't even bother with this.
Would not throw this block. He's in such a good position right now. Like, well, but if you roll like that...
Right, but it frees up a Chaos Dwarf blocker to move away from the tentacles of the beast. You have all three sitting there doing what you want them to do. That's kind of the point. Now you have to struggle to recover the tentacles on him.
Well, we've already seen Surge is not afraid of throwing 2-die uphill against it, but... Oh. Mr. Polson, can't be rolling one, sir. We need you to perform on this play. You gotta... Oh. Snakes with Sure Feet, even. That's not a great start for Gallaudet. And now both Bull Centaurs are down way deep in John Molson territory, and if this ball gets past midfield... Not this turn, most likely, but soon. I'm not sure the Bull Centaurs can recover. Interesting. I thought he might go north. I mean, you do have all your Pestigors down here, and pretty good screen.
Well, his quote-unquote support is more south. That's the majority of the bloaters.
True. I just saw like a bunch of like a room up here where the logo is. It's a pretty logo. I am on record of not liking the checkerboard style on the upper and lower halves, but to each their own, I suppose.
Alright.
That's not good, but you get a reroll to get out of it. Very nice hit.
That's what it was about, to get the block and mighty blow onto the Hobgoblin.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's going to roll Carlton Fist a little bit forward. Or he's got to get Bloody Divock up to the front so that he doesn't get risked getting hit by any of the bulls that are going to blitz here.
I think the more likely blitz is from the back still, right? Polson's going to have 4 movement plus sprint. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, if any of those bulls can get there, you can be assured it's going to be a bull.
I think you... Yeah, there's fine, and then you put Carlton around on the other side.
Yeah, that's the safer play, especially because you just freed up the Claw Mighty Blow Chaos Dwarf blocker, Jack Gray.
I mean, he's a little slow. He got a limp, too.
True, but he's the more dangerous of the pieces here.
True. Not a great result on that block by the last bloater, but he's still tied up by the Rot Spawn.
Yeah.
It looks like he's going to have to do a negative 2-die on the Rot Spawn and get a third blocker free. You could just blitz through the back through Bloody Divock with the bull, but you got to be careful of getting surfed potentially. But you got to get them back in play, because without them, you're not going to somehow salvage this drive.
Well, we can expect late in the turn that he'll 1-die block the Rotter, marking the Claw player. He'll probably do that before he tries to free himself from the beast.
Interesting. Very interesting.
That's fearing the surf.
True. But it would take a lot of resources to surf your bulls, and doing that would mean he couldn't move the ball forward. But we'll see if slow playing it works out. Your bulls are ridiculously fast, and there's the 1-die. Foul.
Well, that's a gift if he tries to dodge with him here.
Doesn't, and doesn't get the foul to go either. That's not even close to an armor break. Rotspawn
No success there.
Does his job well. I know we've had a plethora of amazing bigs recently
that hurts.
in the NCBB. Yeah, that is a tough result there. You know, the Pillsbury Doughboy, Broadnecks, other amazing bigs, but there's nothing just more satisfying than slapping guard and staying firm on a big and having him do what that Rotspawn is doing right now for 10 turns a game and just being happy with it. Like, it's so nice. I lost my Croc score a few games ago, and I was fortunate to get a casualty and MVP on him this game, so he's got guard again. And eventually he'll just slowly get up there and get stand firm, and I'm never going to think about him for the rest of his college career.
Oh, big injury in the Ottawa game.
Okay.
Ahmad Weck, mummy for Ottawa. Serious injury with a minus movement, so he's down to movement 2.
Oh, that's a slow boy. That's a knockout.
Well, that's unfortunate there for Uber. He could have used a follow-up on that. I suspect he really needed that space that Howard Chuck is in right there to come down and blitz that's who he wanted to blitz the Hobgoblin with. This way he could still move up Vladdy Divac to shelter off Jack Gray if he had to, and move the ball freer. Now he's left blitzing the Hobgoblin with the... And he gets it, but he doesn't have nearly as the support as the strength 4 guy coming down the pitch now.
True. Although Polson
and that stun will certainly help there.
Yeah, Polson's not in a great spot to react if you can get around your guy here. And Mendez is still on the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you just get to the right side of Divac, I mean, you could potentially get tagged by the blocker, but you could also trick him into a negative 2-die block on a frenzy. Let's see, Mendez, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so now you should be out of range of Mendez. Let's see, how's Polson gonna make it? He'd have to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So Polson can't get there either. Interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He can if he goes through the southeast. You're assuming break tackle works the first time, and then you'd have to roll a 4 to get through, and you have to clear a path with Jack Gray. But if you go southeast, you do have a shot on the ball, and it might be your best play here.
One thing for sure here, if I don't feel like I have a shot at this ball, and whether he sees it or not, I mean, he can dodge here at a 50% dodge, that's fine. But I'm certainly moving up Joey Mendez to mark Vladdy Divac with my Claw Mighty Blow Frenzy guy and taking a shot at him. That's my only tackler.
It's true. Is he going to try to dodge both of them and go for the 2-die? Interesting.
That's what it looked like he was going to do.
Doesn't work, and it's
that was probably the best shot he had there, but I really wouldn't want to miss out on taking a shot at the tackler.
Looks like a pretty guaranteed score for John Molson at this point, and they do get the ball to start the second half, but this is still a long game. Gallaudet has enough depth to where they should be able to field 11 if things don't just absolutely snowball the next couple turns.
And we have a score alert. the end of the first half, Ottawa 1, Stephen F. Austin 0. Ottawa to receive.
Down a mummy, though. Doesn't help.
Yeah, Ottawa's going to receive in that game. They are down a strength 4 zombie was seriously injured with a minus armor value, and their block mummy was seriously injured with minus movement. They're also going to be missing due to a KO one of their whites, so they'll be starting with only 11, and Stephen F has bodies to spare.
Oh, that's a big injury just by a random block by a Rodder. Like, if you weren't about to be down 1-0, like, that's an injury you would consider using the Apothecary on.
That's one of the weapons that he really one of the big weapons he needed to combat the bloaters. So would you say at the first half so far that when we were talking about keys of the game, it was all about whose support was going to play better? So far, would you agree? It looks like John Molson's support is out to play today.
John Molson's out to play. They are 3-0-0, and they're coming for a second year. We've had a lot of young programs really look to make a mark in the league the last couple of seasons. It's been very exciting. Gallaudet, Ottawa, John Molson now. Jeffro's doing his thing with his Pro Elves and Ohio Wesleyan. Doofer, Baz, second-year teams. I mean, Fayetteville's still a pretty young team, too. I think they're in their fourth season now, but several of their players are underclassmen. I think Baz said he's supposed to be playing Bowl in the Bretonian versus Human battle tonight. Maybe that's tomorrow.
Yeah, speaking of Bretonians, that's next on the schedule for John Molson, the brand new rookie Bretonian squad out of BYU. So that on paper should be an easier game. Mm-hmm. For Gallaudet, however, it doesn't get any easier because right after here, they're going to UNAM.
Oh, the Menelocos, the Pumas. How are the Pumas doing? I know they're not crushing it.
UNAM is back after a number of seasons off, but through 4 weeks they are 3-0-1 right now. Win over that bruising Stephen F. Austin squad, beat a good an up and coming young Texas Tech Lizard squad, and tied their rival Carrick, which is the old Dwarf franchise, and then pummeled BYU into a submission game.
Yes, that was not a pleasant one to watch. BYU just got slapped around, and eventually the administration said, all you players who quit, no scholarships anymore, you are gone. So
and it's unfortunate, and the same thing similarly happened to Miami of Ohio when they played Duke this week, as their team got really destroyed and decimated.
Cleared off the field in droves.
We may have a foul coming here.
I mean, that is a prime target.
We may have a big foul coming here.
I mean, I'm not sure the league can afford to lose much more talent this season. We've already lost several just like marquee players who were on the all-time leaderboards. Polson's not quite on that level, but he's no slouch.
He needs to make sure that he moves Carlton Fist.
Yeah, certainly somebody you want to protect a little bit, and I would probably just dodge with him instead.
That's okay too. Just that any kind of a risk whatsoever of being able to chain push Joey Mendez once or twice.
Oh, you're so...
the ball is in John Molson's hand. Okay, so yeah, I thought he scored already and we were on turn 8. Jeez.
No, not quite.
Between watching the Ottawa game too.
Gotta have that dual screen or red zone setup to keep track of everything in this league. Nothing going there. So, not the half that Gallaudet was hoping for. They perhaps pushed a little too far ahead with the ball and was a little exposed. John Molson took advantage, and they haven't looked back. We'll see if Mr. Polson can get out of there, though, but between the tentacles and all the tackle zones... Well, I don't think it's likely to... Really? He chose not to use Russell and hope for a random...
And hope he dares to foul him.
Interesting. Well, not he's just hoping for the foul. I think he was just hoping for a random removal on the... I don't know. Serge trying to goad him into fouling, so...
Into fouling, exactly.
I don't think that's going to work. If you had a bribe, maybe? But considering that you're about to be up 1-0 and you're getting the ball, even then I'm not sure I would fall for that ruse. Takes a shot at Mr. Mendez, but he is a blodger, so safe from that attack. Certainly not afraid to throw a few blocks, though, with the score and the balance. And now you get your touchdown. So it is 1-0 officially at the half. John Molson leading Gallaudet, but Chaos Drawers will have 11, just as John Molson will, so we'll see if they can hang tough early on and maybe swing the tide. We've got a third game in progress. That's App State Hillbillies, coached by Wog, and the Polyporcos Dwarves, coached by GoTrek. Should be an interesting battle in the Beast.
We'll put some feelers out on that game too.
I know Wog is looking forward to finally getting rid of humans. He's raising a group of high elves, I believe, in the 9AQ to eventually swap out for his beloved hillbillies. But humans they're fun. They're limited, but when you succeed, it feels so good. Because you feel like you earned it.
There's a lot they can do. They just don't do any of it exceedingly well.
Yeah, I mean, when everything you do is only like 70% likely to happen, I mean, you learn a lot from this game. It's like those cheaters who use elves where they get 80%, 90% chance to do stuff, and they're just like roll and die because they can, and they're laughing about it, and it's like, oh, I'm just gonna try this 5+ long bomb to steal the game. Oh, look, it worked! Dirty.
Well, we have an early injury in the App State game. Okay. App State's Ogre, after rolling double skulls, manages a loner reroll to a POW and badly hurts a Troll Slayer.
Oh, okay. That's quite the turn of events.
So that's promising.
Hyper suggesting in the Twitch chat that just get strength 4 on all your humans, the 2-sock strat. I suppose that is a valid one. That is not an easy team to beat. Although I believe the Golden Gophers just had their first graduating class, so I don't think they all have plus strength anymore, thankfully. That team was quite the handful. Wolves perhaps drooling a bit about the possibility of getting a player like Mendez in the draft if Wolves can get back into the NBFL. certainly a early pick by just about any team that was up at the top of the board. I mean, movement, agility, lodge, sure hands. I mean, he'd be a strength slash blitzer most likely. So it's kind of a strange category. Obviously, you don't take that on like a black orc. Some of the blitzers, it may not be a perfect fit, but I think that's just too many good skills to pass up. No good on the catch by Mr. Berry, but he'll get another chance to pick it up. Early blitz by Mr. Divock, but the problem with that is that now he's kind of hung out to dry, and so you've got to move either some bloaters or some rotters out in front to screen him, but we'll see. Death Bulls are down 2 blockers, so they don't certainly have the normal punch that they normally would.
And the one you would fear the most is the Claw, and he's tied up on the line of scrimmage.
True. Good play to move some guys back and just protect yourself from anything weird happening, because
Setting up the I dropped it defense here.
yeah, rot spawn doing what big guys usually do and fail 3-die blocks, or fail to even throw it because they go really stupid.
Should look to push him up here. There you go.
Successful pickup from Mr. Burry, though. Do you know the inspiration behind Uber's player pictures? They seem to be just different athletes from football, baseball, basketball. I don't think most of them have ties to John Molson, but I could be wrong. That is a real school, correct?
No, well, John Molson being the founder of Molson Brewery, but it is a Montreal thing, I would assume. So that's where he's from. But
so,
I mean,
so it's not a real school then.
Marty St. Louis was a Canadian-born player out of Quebec. Pavel Bury, I believe, is the same way. I don't think that John Molson's a real school. I mean, the Molson name is obviously. Oh, we're gonna have a big turnover here.
Hyper says he thinks it's a business school. I'm just surprised Canada even has schools. I thought they just like play hockey the entire time up there. Hyper says it's possibly the John Molson School of Business, and I think Uber's explained it once or twice. I'm just cracking jokes about Canada for
important injury in the Stephen F. Austin game.
Uh-oh, another one.
Stephen F. Austin now losing its leader throw-rah to a serious injury, which is a miss next game. So not only is he going to lose the reroll this game, he's going to lose it next one.
That is the tough thing about these slower teams. You generally have the dedicated ball carrier, and Kemry, I mean, nobody's really that good at ball carrying, but missing a throw rod definitely hurts. Yeah, Wolves, you're right. Dauntless is a very nice skill to have on Chaos Dwarf blockers eventually. I mean, obviously you like guard first, some stand firm's nice, you like some doubles for claw and stuff like that. But sprinkling Dauntless, especially depending on who you face every season in a league, can be a very good tool.
Breaking score update for you fans. Top of the in the second half, top of 4, Ottawa 2, Stephen F. Austin 0.
That's going to be tough for the Kemry to come back from, for sure.
And we are still in the rain, and Kemry have no throw raw on the pitch.
Does he only roster one, or have both been taken out?
He does only roster one.
Wonder if that's by choice or recent happenstance. I mean, you just assume that most Kemry teams would run 2. He's the only guy who can really carry the ball.
Also, another game update. We're at turn 4 in the first half in the App State Poli Puercos game. And App State driving. They have the ball just over midfield with a good amount of the Dwarves stuck on the bottom of the pitch and a 3/4 cage up on the top. So we have the potential for App State driving down the field here. We'll keep you and the fans informed.
All right. Look at Wog go. He gets a spot in the NBFL, does respectable there, starts to turn it around in the NCBB. I mean, things are looking up for old Wog. If I remember right, you used to be in both Arizona and Baltimore, correct?
In the NCBB?
NBFL.
Yes. I started, well, actually a long time ago, but the most success that I had was Arizona making the semifinals in the NFC. I was in Baltimore, I was in New York, I was in Jacksonville. That might be it. I feel like I'm missing one.
I remember Jacksonville. I don't remember New York per se, but I remember Baltimore, you were Necro, and I liked watching that team. And I really liked watching your Arizona Rats because of your safety, Storm Vermin, Adrian Wilson.
Adrian Wilson was sexy. He died in that semifinal match we were talking about on a late block.
Yeah,
it was unfortunate.
Sounds right. That was a hell of a player. What was it like?
He was old school because he was claw razor sharp claws.
Didn't he have some like movement and some other like cool stuff too?
He was, I think he was claw razor sharp tackle. He might have been movement 8. You might be right about that. I can go back and look, but I'm so into watching the games I don't want to miss anything.
Fair enough. Yeah,
tough reroll there.
Very tough. That is the thing. Foul appearance, like it's not something you can rely on, but you have 5 players with it. It just, it just pops up from time to time. It's also interesting. I'm playing in SLA, and I'm playing the Black Ark Secret League team, and they have 4 players called Kraken Helms that have a cool little helmet that gives them both tentacles and foul appearance. So, tentacles on strength 3 isn't anything to write home about usually, although it is surprisingly effective from time to time. But just randomly having your players not get blocked thanks to having foul appearance is pretty convenient.
Nothing else, it's another die roll you got to make.
Exactly. Joey, if you're calling him up, that is a big-ass elf. That's for sure. Do not throw this 1-die block, please.
So, everybody's gathering in the middle here, and that's not going to favor Gallaudet. Not with only the 2 guard on the pitch. This is what we were talking about with the keys of the game about the whose support's going to play a little bit better. Right now, it certainly looks like John Molson's had the advantage all game.
True, but eventually Gallaudet was going to have to do something to force the issue here, and if you can have a turn where you're in a bunch of contact but they only roll a bunch of pushes, and all of a sudden the cage kind of gets discombobulated and you're not really protecting it as well as you could, and then Paulson sneaks in with his strength 5 break tackle and you get a shot. I mean, maybe that's the only way you get back in this game. Because right now he's already moved 3 players, and those are usually your cage corners with your bloaters. And just more pushes. This is one of those turns where you look to be in a commanding position, and then all of a sudden your blocks don't really do a whole lot, and then your resources start running thin, and you're like, oh, what do I do?
That push wasn't exactly the worst, though, because if he can get Reggie Blight to play ball this turn and block Jack Gray, even a push puts 3, again, with all 3 Chaos Warp blockers on the beast.
True.
That's super desirable. Even if he chooses not to play ball, you still have the claw guy on the beast. That's where you want him to be, and the bloater will tie up the other 2.
This is a good play, though, potentially. You get the 2 Pestigors down here, screen off the sideline. You get Mr. Burry down there. But I'm not sure you want to go against the sideline and make a cage, because Mr. Mendez is certainly capable of sneaking in there for a surf attempt. Unfortunately for whoever the bloodthirsty fan is in the stands, I'm not sure there's enough resources available to warrant a foul. But I don't know, maybe at the end of the turn you dodge this rotter out and you go for it. And certainly looks to me like he's about to... Oh, he's fouling with the Pestigor.
That's all he needed right there.
That's a huge stun, though.
That was the only other player he had available. He wasn't going to dodge off LeBron Graves. But this is a big block.
Yes, it is.
That's all he needed right there. He got what he needed.
I mean, I think if you move the Pestigor like right over there, and maybe you would have moved Burry 1 further forward, and then dodge the rotter out at the end of the turn, you're like, all right, if he makes the dodge, we foul. If he doesn't, you know, oh well. But that stun is huge. So, assuming things hold to form here, Gallaudet going to get its first loss. John Molson will be at, 4-0-0?
John Molson will be 4-0. That's correct.
Okay, so who are the
I don't
other...
know that they're going to have the oomph to get up to number 1 with what's happened so far. If I could find that sheet that I've been working on. Here we go. That I was working on this evening. With Fayetteville's loss... Mm-hmm. We don't know what happened with Florida State. That game hasn't happened yet. We also...
I think they're playing tomorrow?
We didn't put the Duke game in, and Duke with a big win this week. We could be very well looking at another Duke number 1 week.
Yeah, we've not had enough of those throughout our last couple seasons. To Zolaran, I think that game's going to be pushed to the end of the season. It looks like he's busy dealing with some stuff right now, so that one's getting pushed back against Army. So if John Molson's 4-0-0, like, and Duke's still being due, like, who are the other teams that we should keep an eye out for in, like, the later half of the top 10 that are going to be creeping up that we'll have to watch out for playoff push late in the season?
Right now you're looking at UNAM obviously pushing their way right on up. They're into the 900 club now.
Mr. Polson just not quite getting it done on these long distance blitzes tonight.
Fayetteville's still very much in play, having only played the 1 game. But the way it's going right now, depending upon what happens with Florida State and how much further damage John Molson can do, honestly, it looks to be like Duke right now would grab number 1, but not by a heck of a lot. Again, what will happen with Florida State would tell a bit, but couple more casualties here for John Molson certainly wouldn't hurt their chances.
True. We'll see if Uber decides to go for the touchdown this turn with a couple of GFIs, or if he plays it a little bit safe. Interesting. Oh, that's right. That's Polson. That's not a Mendes, so you don't need tackle. Do you dare try to stall here? Oh. Just Hobgoblin. But do you
I'll get one more turn if I can bring LeBron Graves down. Foul Polson.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you need the extra turn, though? I mean, I know the Bull Centaurs are fast, but you're going to be up 2-0. Nurgle are generally a strong defensive team. You just put some random Rotters on the line, and then you keep your Bloaters and Pestigores a bit back, and you probably, corral them pretty good.
With fouls being counted in casualties in the game report, you're trying to grab any points that you can humanly get.
I know the Apogee rankings, take that into account, but
yeah, we should make sure that we tell the fans that everything I'm talking about has to do with the Apogee poll, since I'm the Apogee of the Apogee poll.
A win is a win, and generally, 6-7 wins gets you into the playoffs. And if you're up 2-0 halfway through the second half, you're feeling pretty good. Even if you try to stall a turn and Polson makes the play of his life to get over there and knock it out of Barry's hands, the odds of Mendes somehow sneaking through and getting it and then all hell breaking loose and they somehow work the way downfield and score, it's very insignificant, but... Alright, so he decides to go for it successfully. 2-0 lead for John Molson. Gallaudet certainly not out of it because of, as we mentioned, those Bull Centaurs are fast. But they'll be at a man disadvantage to start the half. Well, start the drive, rather. A bit interesting that John Molson only runs, 12 deep? They don't have a whole lot of Rotters on the team. I think I would...
Honestly, it's cash. He only has 10,000 in the bank.
Huh. Well, I do know that he lost a few players in this bowl game, now that I think about it, right? He lost, I think, one of the Pestigores, so Carlton Fisk is a freshman. And then one of the Bloaters, too, if I recall? It must be Bloaty. Gwyn must be new. That's what happened. He had a tough bowl game where he got some perms late against Karik, if I recall. They were in the Chainsaw Bowl together, and he just lost a few guys. So that's what it was. Because I was wondering, I think 12's not quite enough. I'd be running 13 to 14. Rotters obviously aren't super expensive, but it's always nice to have some depth. Kind of goes back to our discussion we've had with Nelfine about his Ottawa team, why it constantly runs 16 players and really has that high TV. Obviously, it's a little different now that Star's not there. He's a bunch of TV by himself. You said one of the Strength 4 zombies got perm, so that's probably a player you could cut. That's a lot of TV. I mean, TV's not the biggest thing to worry about in the NCBB. Obviously, you can't get wizards most of the time, which is the biggest issue about being bloaty. But, Blitz... that doesn't help. But maybe it does. Maybe Uber will be a little aggressive and get out of position. He can sneak a bull or even a hobgoblin down the side, but in general, that's not what Surge wanted to see. Although Blitz is one of the changes coming in the Blood Bowl 2020 rule set to where it's not nearly as powerful as it is currently. If I recall, you can move 3 players plus a D3 or D6, so, not the entire team like you can now, besides the line of scrimmage.
A couple of score updates to bring you, if you'd like.
Okay, go
ahead. Top of turn 8 in the second half, still in the rain. Ottawa just scored again to make it 3-0. Also, just kicking off the second half, Poli 1, App State 0.
How did that happen? I thought you were telling me that WOG was doing the thing with humans and they had like outflanked the dwarves. Like, what did we miss?
Dwarf punched into the corner of the cage, managed to KO part of the cage out, and then a tough reroll didn't let the cage free up, and the ball came bounding out. Dwarves got it to go the other way.
Oh, poor humans.
Well, this is going to be the end of the streak of trifectas for Stephen F. They haven't registered a kill yet this game, and they just fouled to try to get that kill, and they didn't get it. So that game ends 3-0. And that streak's over.
Still a very resounding win for a team that needs some good news this season.
Yeah, after that early loss to Gallaudet, boy, they need to pile on points as quick as they can get them.
I do want to keep my eye on Durthu and that Stephen F. Austin team going forward, though. Kemry don't usually, get a lot of looks in this league. Ioneers run them for a long time, on and off, but most coaches are obviously hesitant to try such a thing. So I want to see how he does, because 5-0-5 last season in the non-AQ. Didn't win the bowl game, but so far it's been a solid sophomore season.
This may get him to look at adding a second throw rod to his roster.
He may not have a choice if he's missing his only one next week. Is that a money thing? Did you see his roster by chance? Or his treasury?
On Stephen F?
Correct, his treasury situation.
Hang on. I didn't notice off the top of my head, but I'll go back and look. Here's the game right here. Stephen F. No, it's definitely not a money thing.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Mendez with the successful pickup, and they're making a pretty obvious effort to go north, so we'll see if they can pull something out of their big hats, as Menno likes to say. See, I know it's easy to throw these blocks the first thing in your turn because you do have block and they're 2 dice, but I would consider moving the Pestigors first into a better position before doing anything else. Because if you do fail something and, the Bull Centaurs can somehow make their way downfield and you're out of position, you could let them back in this game.
Certainly want to move the Strength 5 Bloater in to cover the 2 Hobgoblins, force something to happen there. One player of yours covering 2 of his cage positionals that he can't really deal with.
It's not a bad idea. Takes a shot against Mr. Polzen, but can't get him down. Although if you follow, you do set up a 2-die on him, but I'm not sure you want to...
I'm looking to get Reggie Blight in on the 3 players that he can if he sneaks in a diagonal square above Dale Howarchoke. That's a big tie-up. Still have Bloody Debach on the bottom. This is really nicely played by Uber, if he can get the Beast into play too. See, the only way that he's left Joey Mendez to go is down, and that's where Bloody Debach's waiting for him.
Yeah, very good move to move him back as a safety. It's something just a lot of people in Blood Bowl in general overlook, is just having somebody in the middle to clear any reverses or just breakouts.
I get the positioning with Reggie Blight that he chose. It's not my favorite, but I get it. He chose to tie up 2 Chaos Dwarf blockers instead of the 1 Chaos Dwarf blocker, the guard, with both Hobgoblins there. He could have tied them both up.
You think he could have swung around to the right?
I
saw that too. I don't know, though. You want to... If you put him on the left like that, it really solidifies the middle of your line with guard, stand firm, strength 5. And so he cannot go through the middle. And you force him to probably go through the top gap.
Had he swung around to the other side and he elected to try to do something there, you have 1 player in the back there that you could just swing down and chain push him out to push the beast even onto Joey Mendes. Just cause another die roll with him.
We'll see what Mr. Mendez can do up top here by himself. Gets the dodge. Going to go right through Mr. Fist, I imagine. That's an okay result, but you kind of goofed the positioning. You probably should have attacked him from the top in case that happened.
Wow.
Two, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, you can get a hob over there. But you may have moved too far again. If you just stayed at column 8 or 9, you could probably get both hobgoblins over there relatively successfully, set up a screen.
Right on. I agree.
Granted, he has failed a couple, sure feats and GFIs with the bulls already today, but you're basically movement 10. I mean, it's a little risky to go for all 3. So even if you stop at column 9, you're still going for 2. But you're kind of leaving Mr. Mendez out to try again. I think you got to leave him there.
Not thrilled with that positioning. I think he should have been 1 back. Beast can come up and tag both of them now on a chain push.
True. But I think in front of him is better from the perspective of preventing a hit. Because if you could easily clear Mr. Burry, you could have swung him around, tagged Mendez, and then got a 2-die with Mr. Divock from coming around from the left. But yeah, if you get the beast on him, it makes it okay. Well, you're not going to get the beast on him.
Huge. Take the POW. Make him move. Would have freed up the block dodger without having to make a block or anything like that.
Oh, you're going to try to goad him into moving away from the Pestivore?
Right.
Yeah. I remember I played Baz in the NBFL once, and he had shadowing on, I think it was a gutter runner, I imagine, and I kept moving my player in and out of his tackle zone to move, and Baz just kind of auto clicked, and he moved the player out of the way, so I created a gap to go through and get his ball carrier or something. He was like, God damn it, you did that on purpose, didn't you? I said, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we still have a shot here if he pushes off Polzin. Pavel Burry pushes off Matthew Cratchit. We can pull the block guard guy into the backfield there to mark both players for a 2-die blitz on Joey.
Okay, I like that.
That's exactly what Uber's doing here.
Gets the pushes he needs, so you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Come over with Divock. And down
there it is.
Down
He's
goes
got
Mendes.
that. That kind of hurts, but that's not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. I think here, you throw this block.
He could just simply dodge out, blitz, and pick it up. I kind of want to block the other way, though. Push the beast down another spot.
Well, I'm not worried about moving the beast. I actually wanted to free up a bloater to go back towards the ball and just really, like mess things up for the Chaos Dwarf. Like, he couldn't like get there this turn to help, but you set up another block over there and you get a fortunate casualty, but it's not something that really affects the game. So I would have preferred to have a bloater over here and just throw as many bodies near the ball and just muck things up as Nurgle like to do. Okay. So
Gallaudet worried about looking forward to his next game. I don't think he's going to have too much of a problem on. Oh no, that's John Molson. I'm thinking of. Oh yeah, he's got Unam next, so that's going to be a real uphill battle for him.
Not great. We have another game kicking off. Fresno State Raiders, that's Robo's Undead, and the Ohio State Buckeyes, OTS's Wood Elves. That should be an interesting clash of styles.
We're putting eyes on that game too.
Oh no. Joey Mendez was infuriated by getting taken down last turn. Kills Vlade Divac, and Mr. Divac does not regenerate. Man, I thought he was having like a nice solid career so far, then Nurgle all of a sudden just decided he didn't have his favor anymore. God, these Chaos Gods are fickle.
That hurts. That one really hurts. He has no way now to deal. Thankfully, he's already up 2-zip, but he's got no way to deal with Joey Mendez now.
Tackle, yeah. I mean, he's got a young Pestigore, Mr. Fist at 2 SPP. Kellen Winslow's at 12 now, so he's pretty close to becoming a block tackle player. Pavel Berry, I mean, Strength 4 Blodge, you think Sure Hands is probably the next choice. I mean, you could go tackle and kind of make him a well-rounded player, but I think if you just make him your offensive focus, it's probably a solid plan. But again, now Uber has a little bit more time to divide up his Pestigore core and make sure they don't all graduate together. As nice of a story as it is, like, four like best friends like meet at college, or like they become best friends at college in the dorms, and they just go through all 4 years together, and that's kind of a cool story and stuff. It also really doesn't help the team when you lose all four at the same time. A little surprised he didn't use the reroll just to use it. I mean, he's got 3, and there's not a whole lot of other turn or moves he's going to make, but now Mr. Mendez is stuck on a Tentacles player. He's following with Mr. Berry. Interesting. I mean, John Molson's looking for the shutout. They're not just satisfied with the victory. They're trying to send a message. I know that you're not a fan of the Rangers and them getting the first pick in the NHL draft, but how did your Islanders end up doing? I think it's the Islanders, right?
Yeah, they didn't pick until today. Grabbed a couple of forwards. Their last pick was a young goalie, Henrik Tikkanen. He could have. I don't imagine that he's going to hang around on the roster, on the practice squad even, or anything like that with the 2 goalies that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
But the pair of forwards and a decent defenseman, I'm pretty excited about, depending on how fast we can bring them along.
All right. I don't really follow hockey. I just know that the Stars happen to make it to the Stanley Cup and win the first game, and then kind of get shellacked the next couple. But Dallas has a pretty solid basketball team now. Our football team is. I'll get back to you on that one. I don't know what to think about our team yet. It's just embarrassing. Mr. Mendez, though, absolutely going for it. I think here is where you take the 1 die. Yep, push him away. Then you kind of make your way into the end zone, assuming you don't fail another GFI. And Sure Feet prevents that, so Gallaudet on the board, salvaging a little bit of pride, perhaps.
So keeping it from a shutout saves some extra points finding John Molson's way.
True. But John Molson, not for lack of effort, though. They didn't just sit there and say, all right, you can score, whatever, we'll get out of here with the win. They said, no, sir, Mr. Mendez, we're not going to let it be that easy. Sometimes those players just make the plays anyways.
Score update for you. Top half of turn 5 of the second half. Poli 2, Appalachian State 0.
And after we started giving praise during our broadcast to humans. Classic.
3 tough injuries, or 3 badly hurts for App State. Their thrower, rookie lineman, and their ogre all out for the rest of the game.
Oof. Well, don't worry, Wog. It'll bound to be easier for you, because next week you... Oh, right. I play Wog next week. A little late for a perfect defense, methinks.
A little odd by that. I would have figured to play for a riot if I was Serge Tacos and really wanting to try to win.
If only we had control of such things. Mr. Fist might be able to get a vanity completion here, get a little bit closer to a next skill. Speaking of completions, I don't think I've talked to you since it happened, but I'm deeply sorry about Mr. Daniels. That was a shame.
Yeah, that was it was going to happen sooner or later, and just happened to have happened sooner. So Hawaii is working with a rookie thrower so far. He put up his first throw in the first game, but that's been it so far.
Baby steps, right?
You can only have historic programs when you start making history, so it's time to start making new history.
There you go.
We'll see what Hawaii does this week as they face UW.
I believe you guys are on for tomorrow afternoon / early evening?
Correct.
Okay.
And we have a death in the Poli Puercos App State game.
Please tell me it's not another human.
It is not. Skeeter Brown getting it done again, killing a rookie Longbeard.
Okay. Note to self, watch out, Skeeter Brown.
Yeah, we've been talking about Skeeter Brown for a year and a half now. Just as we were talking about, well, let's say I was talking about John Molson while they were in the non-AQ about how they just seem to have something going on. And here we are a year later, and they're right approaching number 1 already. We're getting good at this, X.
You've been on them since the beginning, and Mr. Fist apparently doesn't like the spotlight. But 4-0-0 for Uber and John Molson. That's a hell of a start for a second-year program. We
also have a score update quickly to give you. Top of turn 3, it is Ohio State 1, Fresno State 0.
And I'm sure Robo is not that displeased about that, because now he gets a bunch of time to ram it down the Woodell's throats.
Don't see why you make that block.
Just random hopeful casualty, I guess. I don't know. Well, that is it for us here. John Molson 2-1 victors over Gallaudet. So, as we said, John Molson now 4-0-0. Gallaudet 2-1-1, I think you said?
That is correct.
All right, so still not out of it for sure. We are in week 4, the end of week 4. Tonight's the deadline, so hopefully all these games get finished. I know there's 1 or 2 on for tomorrow, so moving on, we've got more games to cover, and we'll hopefully get back to you as soon as we can. So thank you for joining me, Appajar. It was a pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, my friend.
Take care, everybody. Have a good night.